Mortgage rates just have plunged to their lowest in over a year, opening doors for new home buyers. So we're seeing more homes for sale, and we're going to explain the reasons behind the surge and why the market tanked late last week. So in other groundbreaking news, Ohio just kicked off its first recreational marijuana sales. I'm going to be joined by Brad Winter this week to break down all these exciting details. Let's go. What's good, everyone? Welcome to Life in Columbus, the live stream. I'm joined this week by Brad Winter. Oliver is actually in Scotland, so we're super jealous of Oliver. So if you're watching, jealous. Buddy, yeah, super jealous. So we're just gonna get right into it. So last Friday, we had an updated job reports came out, and it came about 100,000 jobs short of what the projections were. At the same time, you had the Japanese stock market just take a dump as well, which led to a huge sell-off, losing about $3 trillion worth of value in the stock market within a 24-hour period. So here in a second, we're going to get into why this happens, why it's not going to affect most people generally, and how this played into rates. Brad, what's good, buddy? How you been?
What's going on? Yeah, I'm very jealous of Oliver and his golf trip. He's got a saint of a wife because he just had a baby under 6 weeks ago, and he's in another country playing golf while she's home taking care of two. So
yeah,
I'm doing well.
I'm not brave enough to touch that one.
Yeah, it's I feel like since last week it's been a little bit interesting. A lot of different conversations, a lot of people asking questions. A lot of stuff going on politics. It's been a wild, maybe like 10 days. How about that? What about you?
Yeah,
how you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. It's really weird because I've had the thought the last couple of days, the same thoughts that I had during COVID. So like while COVID was going on, everyone was panicked. The economy was kind of in shambles, but things were relatively stable inside of the Miracle household because of mortgage rates being low. Everyone wanted to refinance, those kind of things. So it's really weird that when the market tanks like it did, real estate usually is a benefactor of that. So last week on Friday, once again, some of us knew, some of us didn't, some of us, it was the talk of the town. So mortgage rates dropped from a national average of about 7.5 to about 6.5 within like a 24-hour period. Now, starting the market on Monday, we had a little bit of a reprice, and the market's trying to climb its way back. So what are you seeing on the street as far as how this impacted your customers, your buyers over the weekend?
I don't think I've seen an immediate effect yet, other than a lot of different conversations are happening, right? People maybe that were waiting are saying, hey, like, let's have a conversation. I've got some relocation people that were thinking about renting right now. Hey, do you think this is going to last? Do we think we're going to get any lower? What's this going to do for inventory? I mean, we're still seeing a good tick of inventory climbing up and being at more, higher than usual, still not where it needs to be. So I haven't seen like this automatic, like immediate effect. I had a lot of people asking me to refi, like, hey, now's a good time to refi. And I'm thinking a point drop, probably not yet, and you can maybe speak on this, but again, nothing immediate, just a lot of different conversations. What about you?
Yeah, so no, nothing yet. I think for all of us, it kind of caught us by surprise. Yes, we're thinking that rates are going to come down some before the end of the year. We didn't expect what happened Friday, and I fully did not expect the gains that we had, or the losses, depending on how you're looking at it, that happened on Friday to continue into this week. I think that it's a good thing that the stock market shut down over the weekend and there was not as much trading, but there's still a lot of conjecture. So as far as to answer your question, I don't think that refinances are a thing yet. There are some happening, but most of it is debt consolidation, like trying to pay off your credit cards using the equity in your home. So that's relevant right now. But as far as just people getting a lower interest rate on the 4% interest rate, the 5% interest rate that they had before, it hasn't happened yet, but it is coming. But at the same time, I don't anticipate a tidal wave like we had during COVID. So one of the things that you touched on is you touched on the fact that inventory at the same time is starting to go up. So we touched on this last week that inventory is starting to trend up. And are you seeing it still improving from last week to this week? Brad, you still there? Can you hear me, boss? All right. So I think we lost Brad on his connection. All right. So I'm just going to keep rolling. So what we're seeing in different related housing reports, we are seeing that more inventory is coming online. We're also seeing that we are starting to see wait times for homes start to go up as well. So meaning how days on market going up. So what this means is it's kind of a flattening, if you will, of the steep increase that we've seen in the seller's market. And we're starting to see that level off and start to trend backwards to more of a balanced market, which is where we want to be in. So I think Brad is going to be rejoining us here in a second. Looks like he was on his laptop and it froze. Okay. So what I want to know is, if you're watching, what is your sentiment and what is your predictions between now and the end of the year as far as rates are concerned? So what I'm thinking is that rates are going to continue to come down slowly, but not going to drop significantly like we were all kind of seeing on Friday. Let me see here. Okay. So while we're waiting for Brad to jump back on, one of the other things that we're seeing is that the NAR lawsuit is getting ready to take hold this next week. So we have less than a week left before a lot of things start changing inside of the real estate industry. And what we're seeing is that buyers are starting to get more dialed in to what is happening. We're starting to see agents are starting to get more used to the new changes that NAR is bringing on. So once again, I don't know if you guys can hear me or not, because I don't have anyone in the comments and I don't have anyone to join me on stage. What's up, dude?
Hey. Hi.
Welcome back.
What's going on?
You had me bugging here a little bit, thinking that there was something on my side.
Had a little technical difficulties, guys. Apologize.
Nah, it's all right. You paid your internet bill this month, right?
I'm on my iPad, so I don't know. Like, my computer went a little crazy, got hot. So apologize about the exposed screen, but whatever.
You're good. You're good. Okay, so what we were talking about is, what are you seeing as far as inventory from last week to this week? Are you seeing any marketed change? Because once again, we talked about last week that it was going up. Anything different from last week?
I mean, I don't think anything too drastic. I think it's still at, kind of the same level. It hasn't dropped off, certainly. I haven't checked it today, but as of yesterday, it was kind of trending in the same direction. So I still think we're just going to keep seeing it, to be honest. I think even right now at the, we got a little bit of a break with the rates. I still think people were kind of chilling. It's summertime still. We've got an election. Economy's in flux. People, the stock market tanked there for a day. People freaked out. I mean, if you really listen to a lot of the analysts, it kind of came back the next day. So I don't know. I just think that people were kind of in a weird predicament in some ways, and I think we're going to get some better inventory, but I don't know if the buyers are going to come out right away. I think things are going to sit a little bit longer. I mean, I'm seeing it right now on listings, right? Things are sitting more than 10 days, even nice houses. So
okay,
it'll be interesting.
So what does that mean when you factor in like seasonality of like, okay, so next week is the start of back to school for a lot of communities. So usually around this time, we see a little bit of a drop off in August. We see another spike in September, and then kind of bell curves off towards the rest of the year.
Yep. So we got to get past this. We got to get past the school kind of juggernaut that we're about to hit.
Right. So I kind of see it as the end of school thing, people going on vacations right after school ends.
Yeah.
So I think we're going to see a little bit of a pause right now. And some of the rooms that I'm in, I'm seeing conversations like it's slowed down a little bit, but it hasn't like hit the bricks. So we have a lot of stuff going on. We have a nasty soup of stuff going on inside of real estate, inside of the economy right now. So I don't say that you're wrong in your approach, that it's going to cause people to give pause.
Yeah. I mean, the real estate market's weird, man. I mean, it's been weird for a while. It's funky. How about that? I like to say it's funky.
Funky's a good word.
So I wish I could give, more of a tea leaf kind of read on this stuff, but every micro market is different. Every price point's different. I mean, you really gotta know your stuff in this market to help guide people the right way.
Mm-hmm.
And it'll be interesting with this NAR stuff that's hitting in 2 weeks.
Right.
If the marketplace knows enough about it, will it give them pause even maybe until they kind of figure that out a little bit? Maybe instead of hiring Aunt Susie, who's done 2 deals, they're going to think twice about that. Like, well, maybe I should talk to 3 or 4 people. Well, that like prolongs the buying process, right? So I don't know. It'll be interesting to kind of see if that affects things as well.
Yeah, I could see that. So I think agents are going to have to become more skilled in the value offer that they're putting out. At the same time, I still don't think that it's much has changed for the consumer, at least superficially. Because okay, so we have a couple people watching right now. In the comments below on whatever platform that you're watching on, drop below if you guys are aware that there is a real estate lawsuit happening. I'd be really interested to see if you guys what your thoughts are, if you have any insight, if you are aware that something happened with the National Association of Realtors. Drop that in the chat. We want to hear from you. I don't know. So it's a super strange time, but I'm excited at the same time because I think that we're starting to return more to a balanced market, which is exactly what we need right now to give home buyers a break from just the escalating prices, higher interest rates. It's been a tough go for buyers.
It has. I mean, I think I said this on a couple episodes ago. I mean, March of 2020 until basically today, Franklin County home prices have increased 49.5%.
Oh.
I've got that ingrained in my brain. Like that's a number that like I can't escape at the moment because the people that got in and took advantage of it, think about how much equity they have in their home, how much net worth, how much of their net worth has increased. And people that just kept waiting for things to fall apart, or their parents are saying, "Are you crazy? Like you're gonna go do this and that," and think about where they're at now. I did a video today actually, and think about this: a home in 2020 is $300,000 is essentially would be priced on the market around $450,000 today.
And just with the cost of everything going up, how does someone save to be able to afford that or justify that kind of payment?
Exactly. So I just think we're in a goofy era of real estate, and everybody's got to make the best decision for themselves. But the biggest thing is just like being educated and having a plan. And really then I think that's the best way for people to get into the real estate market.
Right. So Miss Sherry, one of our viewers online, asked, so we dropped, are you guys aware of what the NAR lawsuit means? So Brad, as a non-agent, explain it to me like I'm a 5th grader.
Well, essentially what it's doing now is it's giving clarity to, who is working for who and how people are truly getting paid. That's like the best way to describe it. So, now, if you're a buyer, before you can enter a home with a realtor, you have to have a buyer broker agreement signed, which is essentially just like a listing contract, like we do with sellers. The listing contract is you are hiring me, and me as your buyer's agent, I have a fee. And now that fee can be paid all sorts of different ways. The seller can still offer a buyer agent commission. They can offer a concession. You can put it in the offer to be paid. The buyer can pay it. The buyer can pay none of it, all of it, some of it. It could be shared between both. So it's really just bringing light to who works for who and how they get paid is going to be more clear than it was in the past, essentially, at a very elementary level.
So correct me if I'm wrong. So a lot of this stemmed from the fact that prior culturally, and real estate is a very cultural, like the things are done a certain way and it's kind of market to market, but generally speaking, the listing agent would pay for, or not the listing agent, but the seller of a home would pay for their listing agent's commission. and then also the buyer's agent commission as well. So the crux of the lawsuit that happened is, why, as a seller, would I pay for the buyer's agent who I'm trying to negotiate against? So that's really the crux of the lawsuit. So what they've done is they've built in a lot of transparency. And the biggest change for agents, and correct me if I'm wrong, Brad, is the fact that buyer's agents are now going to have to negotiate for the commission, just like the seller's agent has had to do all along.
Yeah, and I said before, it's going to be negotiated a ton of different ways. I mean, if you are, I really believe if you're an excellent listing agent and you have a
Mhm.
reasonable client, you will under you will give them, every option in the book and why it's good, why maybe it's not good, whatever. I really believe that sellers will still offer compensation, especially if we get into a more balanced market and houses start sitting around a little bit longer,
Right.
right? It might not be the full thing, but then that's where you come in with your buyer and say, "Hey, we agreed upon my fee is 3%, the seller is offering 2, that means you would be responsible for 1."
Right.
Right? And so I actually think, I could be dead wrong on this, but I think it's actually gonna be a good thing for the industry. I think it'll weed out a lot of people that aren't skilled in our world, which I don't like people not having jobs, but,
Mhm.
there are thousands of licensed agents in Central Ohio that do 5 or less deals a year, and it's just because they
Right.
do it on the side.
Froze a little bit, buddy. So to Brad's point, so I watched the numbers for a couple different states, and to give you examples, so in Florida, I know we're in Ohio right now, but in Florida, there are 280,000 registered real estate agents. 280,000. For the people that actually live there, there are only about 210,000 real estate agents that live in Florida and also practice in Florida. So that being said, there are 70,000 agents that have their license in Florida but don't live there. So in
Right.
Ohio, what Brad's talking about is there is this lopsided effect. It's called the Pareto principle. And once again, no shade if there's other agents watching, but loan officers kind of fall into this as well. Is with the Pareto principle, the top 20% are usually doing about 80% of the business. So to Brad's point, there are a lot of agents who got their license during COVID and are now trying to find ways to do business, but where they haven't been able to before. So they have their license, but there's not necessarily active. So it's skewing the numbers, if you will.
Yep. Yeah, so it's just gonna be more of a skill-based market, which, hey, it's probably time, and I think it's gonna be better for everybody.
Yep, I agree. All right, so enough of the tough conversations. Let's get into a little bit of fun. So, Brad, you brought up this article. Once again, we touched on it a little bit last week, but what is going on with dispensaries in Ohio?
Yeah, well, the state gave the green light for, I think it's what, right at almost 100 shops, dispensaries, you wanna call
Yep.
them, to open up as of 7 AM. Was it yesterday or today? I don't remember. I think it was yesterday, right?
Yep.
Yeah, yeah, yesterday. So, um, if you remember, I don't even know, was it 4 or 5 years ago, this was on the ballot, and it got canceled because, go figure, the government wanted to control,
Yeah.
where they were gonna be, how it was gonna be run, who was gonna do what. It was typical government trying to get into everybody's pockets and control things. So, it got tabled for a while and now it's back. I mean, obviously we're not the first state to do this. There's plenty of other states that this is the norm and it's been the norm for a while. So I'm interested to see after one full year kind of what the economic numbers around it will be.
I agree. So, just to confirm that this is not medicinal, this is for recreational.
Yeah, exactly. And I think
All
there's
right.
some
Cool.
dual shops as well,
Mhm.
that is in this. But I think it's become just kind of, this is normalized. People don't think too much of it anymore.
Mhm.
So I'm interested to see or the economic portion of it. I could care less about, kind of how the business works, but you know I'm more interested in the business side.
Yeah, it'll be interesting how it shakes out. Once again, we've had conversations on a libertarian front that the government should not be involved in anything. Everything should be legal. But now that they are starting to walk more towards the liberal side of things, it'll be interesting, like you said, to see how this
Yeah.
all shakes out.
Well, I also think too is
So
like I haven't looked into this, but I should have done a little bit more homework. Is like, what does this have an effect on crime, like drug related crimes, with when states
mhm.
open up, these recreational marijuana stores? Does it have any impact on the drug game, if you want to call it, um, good or bad? I don't know. I should have looked more into that, but I'd be curious to kind of see what those other states have experienced.
Well, I mean, personally speaking, that I would assume that if you're making something legal and there's no longer a black market for it, so to speak, then that's going to one, I would say, lower the cost potentially, and then two, if someone could just go to the store versus going to the street corner, I would think that would also reduce crime rates and those kind of things. So it'll be interesting to see how this plays out. So just so you know, Brad, you're frozen again. We'll get you up and running with your big boy camera next week. So next thing that you wanted to talk about, if you can still hear us, still join us, is the
I'm
boom that's
here.
going on inside of Dublin.
Yeah, I mean, I just thought this was a interesting article. I mean, if you guys have followed, the live podcast that we do here,
Mhm.
Ryan, you've talked about it on your Instagram. Oliver has, like, Dublin has just exploded with with their residential real estate, their businesses. Um, I don't know, man. I get a little jealous living in New Albany and seeing everything that Dublin is kind of experiencing. Investing in the community. They have become. It's almost like they've become another major city to me inside of
So,
Central Ohio.
so, I mean, obviously, we have a lot of the news reports that happen with things that are going on downtown. But you're right. I mean, architecturally, business wise, it does seem like they are trying to stake their own claim as to what's going on in the city and having their own part of it. Do you see any other parts of town really trying to grow and develop the same way that Dublin is?
I mean, I think everybody has their little small projects. That I
Mhm.
know Hilliard does some stuff up in Polaris and those areas, but not to this scale. I mean, anytime I feel like you go into Dublin, there's cranes everywhere. There's new projects being proposed. Things are being, you know, uh, I don't know, things are being redone like in old Dublin. I was just talking to a developer friend of mine, and they bought two historic homes along, right where the Cohatch is at,
Mhm.
there in Old Dublin, and they are building two $3 million homes along the riverbank.
That's crazy. So that's a
So,
pretty significant investment in that area.
right. So, these guys aren't stupid. They go where the money's at, and Dublin has a
Mhm.
lot of it. And they just keep expanding too. I mean, they're going out to Jerome, they're buying land in Plain City. I mean, this is going to be almost another kind of metropolis in a way, I believe. In 10 years, it wouldn't shock me if the growth is tenfold.
Well, you think about it. Okay, so you have what's going on with Intel on the east side, but I think the benefit that Dublin has is it's also a gateway to Plain City, which is also experiencing its own boom as well.
Yeah.
So it's right off of 270. It's not far from 23, and then you put Plain City on Dublin's back. I mean, I think there's a lot of upside to Dublin.
Well, I think
Uh,
Dublin too invested a lot in like small businesses and
mhm.
smaller companies, right? Like out in New Albany, kind of where I'm at, I mean, you have a lot of big data centers. Yes, you have Intel, that's going to be a behemoth, but Dublin really has a ton of small businesses,
Okay.
right? Whether it's restaurants, boutiques, you name it. I mean, I feel like they really encourage that, um, welcome it, and people are kind of going there for those reasons. I mean, at one point, Bridge Park was a little sparse, and now it's pretty full with local businesses, right? You don't really find any big chains or anything as far as restaurants or shops or anything, in Bridge Park. Those are all locally owned businesses. So
Yeah,
I
I'll
just
actually
think
be at Bridge Park tomorrow. But
nice.
so, what does this mean for real estate specifically in Dublin? Do we have enough houses for all the stuff that they're trying to do?
Well, of course not. But I have a friend that sits on the city council board in Plain City, and their biggest fear is that Dublin almost swoops them up. Right?
Okay,
The city of Dublin is buying a ton of land, obviously, with the drone project. They're crossing
right.
over to 33. They're buying more land closer to Plain City, annexing it as Dublin. It might be Jonathan Alder Schools, but it's a Dublin, address.
Hmm.
And so their biggest fear is that if they don't experience growth, if they don't take advantage of this, then Dublin's just going to be on their doorstep, quickly. And so with that, you get these builders that are, they are building a lot of homes out there. Um, but I just don't think they can keep up because anytime I talk to somebody that's relocating here, Dublin's number one or number two on their list,
Okay,
right? I mean, that's just if they're looking for a really great school, they always say, "Tell me about Dublin."
fair enough. Fair enough. So Dublin's going to end up becoming a behemoth, like you said, to try to keep up with the rest of town.
Yeah.
So what? So what are the other municipalities, or are they doing to try to keep up with Dublin? Because it seems like Dublin's trying to stake its own claim inside of Columbus generally. So what are the other municipalities trying to do to
I
compete?
mean, I think you see small projects happen, right? I mean, Hilliard's definitely they're in growth mode, but they're not doing anything on the scale of like Dublin or New Albany. New Albany, I live here and they're good just being what they are, right?
Mhm.
They're a village still in their eyes. And so their growth is basically to bring in big business and like big master plan communities in New Albany being built. In New Albany proper, you're not getting like a lot of new restaurants, new shops. That's not really happening now along Hamilton Road, but that's not. There's a lot of new stuff, but that's not New Albany proper. That's Columbus City actually. Um,
Oh, okay.
so you get little growth stuff here as far as uh, commercial stuff, but it's just nothing like Dublin scale. I mean, they're the leader, and I just think they're going to continue to just keep going after it.
Well, I'm glad for it because we need someone to show commitment to the growth of Columbus. Besides these little Mickey Mouse projects here and there, not to take anything away from any other projects, but it's onesies twosies. So
Right?
good for Dublin, man. Maybe we
Yeah.
should all move
No.
there.
Yeah. I'm all right. I like I like the quiet. I was there today. I was there today shooting some content, and it's busy.
Mhm.
I
What
was
Dublin
in
is?
yeah, I was back in like the Muirfield area driving around. We were shooting some content in the car, and it's just busy. I mean, the roads are busy. There's traffic everywhere. So, um, there's good and bad to both situations, right?
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. So, besides fixing our internet connections for next week, anything you want to sign off with for this week, bud?
No, sorry for I have no clue what's going on. So, guys, I'm
I'm just giving
sorry.
you
I,
shit.
I, I failed you this week. I'll be better next week. You know, man, I don't have anything too crazy. I just keep telling people when it comes to real estate, get in the market, stay in the market. That doesn't mean you have to act. Just do it, right?
Yeah, just
And
give.
just get in. And then also too is like this is something I really was thinking about the other day. Is like I'm really proud of like to live here,
Mhm.
and yeah, I love what's going on in Central Ohio. I love the people here, and it's just a really fun time to be a part of the region right now.
Yeah, we have a lot going for us, and kudos to the city planners, One Columbus, and everyone who's done it, put their necks on the line to try to make Columbus what it is, because we are growing at a sustainable rate as compared to other cities who just opened the floodgates and just flooded the city. Now they're trying to catch up. So we are doing really, really well. And to your point, Brad, I would be sad if I ever had to leave Columbus.
Yep. I mean, I had a guy that he's relocating here, and he said, "Just tell me one thing that you love about Columbus." And I just said, "Life is easy."
Mhm.
Right? It's easy to get a reservation. It's easy to get to the airport. It's easy to get around town. I used to travel for work all over the country, and going to major cities the same size of Columbus, was always a hassle, always a
Ugh,
struggle, right? And so I'm just very thankful that we've got it, somewhat easy here.
yeah. And I think it's going to stay that way for quite some time, even though that we are growing at the pace we are.
For sure.
Yeah, man. All right, so we're going to go ahead and wrap the show. We're at the top. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. So once again, we're going to be doing this every Wednesday at 7. We would love to see you guys interact with us. So if there's content that you want to have us talk about, if you're watching the replay, comment below where you're watching this, and then we'll catch your notes, and then we'll bring it up on the next show. So thank you so much for watching with us this week. Oliver's going to be joining us next week, and we'll love to hear how Scotland went. And then nothing else. Stay safe, stay cool, start enjoying the cooler temperatures as we start walking into fall. So, Brad, anything?
Nope, I'm good. Thanks for tuning in, guys.
All right. See you guys next week.